Well, welcome to another Waynos Fotos cameras video, and today I'm going to give you the cheat codes to how you use flash with your Canon mirrorless cameras or off-camera flash with your Canon mirrorless cameras, because these cameras here, compared to the old DSLR cameras, have a few little odd quirks that you need to be aware of, and there's a few techniques to make it a little bit easier when you're shooting flash with these Canon mirrorless cameras. So let's roll our intro and let's get into one of these little cheat codes you need to know for these Canon mirrorless cameras. Now, if you've watched any tutorials on using cameras with off-camera flash when you're outdoors or whatever, they tell you to expose for the background. So what you basically do is you don't want your automatic flash things on, like your TTL and so forth. You don't want the camera and the flash working automatically, because you want to set your exposure darker than what the automatic system in the camera wants to do. And then what you do is you add your flash to highlight the subject or make it pop off the background, so the background's a little bit darker. And when you do this, it makes the subject stand out. And also what it does is you can actually make the colors a little bit, push the colors a little bit more in the background to give that really kind of saturated, colorful look. So how do you do this? Because what most people who have tutorials tell you, they go switch your flash off, and then the camera doesn't think that there's a flash, so then you can put your camera into manual and you can set it up as you would normally do for just normal natural light photography. Then what you do is you get your exposure, you turn your flash back on, and then you adjust your flash. Now, that's a whole lot of mucking around, because you've got to turn your flash off, you've got to stop, turn your flash off, then do your exposure, and then turn your flash on. And some of the new electronic flashes take a little bit of a time to start up and so forth. So how do you get around this? Now, what we need to realize is the mirrorless cameras are pretty damn smart. So what happens is when you have that flash on the camera and you have it connected to the camera, and the camera knows there's a flash on, then what it does is these mirrorless cameras are so clever, because it's dark, it makes the exposure brighter in your display. So you can't see what you're getting. It's brighter than what you're getting. So you need to turn that flash off. That's also another thing that you need to accommodate when you have these mirrorless cameras, because they're too damn clever. But there is a very quick cheat code for doing this. Now, if you go into the menu, and you can see that here, that when you go into the speed light or flash menu, you can make the flash enabled or disabled, and that's in your speed light menu. Now, what you can do is you can go into this menu, and then you can set a button or map a button to enable disable. Now, what I do is on my R3, I use the front number 2 button, and I've mapped this to switch flash on, flash off. And it actually tells you in your display, you see a little circle with a flash with a line through it, means no flash, and then you flick it and that goes away, or a little flash symbol pops up telling you that you have flash. So you can do that by pushing a button. So when you have your flash on your camera, and you have your camera and you want to get the right exposure and you've got it in manual, what happens is you just hit this button. The camera then thinks that there's no flash on because you've disabled it, and then you can set your exposure. The exposure doesn't come up, the camera doesn't brighten that up for your focus because it thinks you've got a flash on. And then you can see your exposure in the screen, you can see it in your eyepiece, or you can see it on your live view screen at the back, and you set your exposure to how you want it, a little bit darker if you like that, or you want your balance to your flash. And then what you do is you just hit your mapped button again, and it all enabled. You don't have to go and switch your flash on and switch your flash off. And what this is an extremely quick method, because you just switch it off, get your exposure, hit that button on your camera. In fact, you can have your camera up to your face and not even move it away from your face to turn your flash on and off. Obviously, if you want to adjust your flash, you're going to have to drop it down to adjust your flash or your trigger to get your exposure. But apart from that, you can turn your flash on and off very, very quickly, mapping it to a button. Okay, guys, well, that's where I'm going to leave it. I hope that gives you some ideas on how you can work faster with your flash photography with your Canon mirrorless cameras. And you can use that map button, just press it off and on to enable, disable your flash. And it's very, very quick. It saves you a lot of time and you can work much faster. Okay, guys, leave your comments down below. Did you know about this trick? Did you know that you can map that enable, disable, or do you been switching the flash on and off? What have you been doing? Or have you got a different technique you use? Leave those comments down below so we can let the community know what are these tips and tricks for using flash with your Canon mirrorless cameras. Well, that's where I'm going to leave it, guys, and I will see you next vid.